Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. I have a few questions here. Thank you. This one is from Arthur Coops from Scotland. And here's some really interesting things here. He asks, first he says, the personality balks at the idea of helping others. I'm inclined to agree with that. This realization is usually followed by shame about such selfishness. And then when I do help others, pride and generosity can kick in very easily. In other words, you can be very proud of what you're doing. In other words, there's always plenty of conflict in the personality within the self. Through softening and redirecting energy and asking for help for other states, do I not simultaneously, well, maybe let me go back here first. My question is an explicit intention to help others necessary in this work? Good question. Through softening and redirecting energy and asking for help from higher states, do I not simultaneously help myself as personality as well as others? And is it even wise to distinguish this personality from all others? All really good questions. We have an interesting way of looking at an engagement with spirituality. And the first thing that really all personalities are interested in, with no exceptions, is the relationship that they have with themselves. Arthur, in this particular case, is trying to be as honest as he possibly can. And in this particular way, he's asking a very, very interesting question in a manner that relates to the personality. The personality is an interesting form, and a necessary one on these planes. And there's a vitality about it. It's dynamic. Whether it be dynamic in the sense of expression externally or internally, or defensively internally or externally. All of these things are vital in our planes, the way we function. And this is very valuable to us because in a kind of a way, these are signature engagements with how a person of how we see ourselves must act, otherwise we are not a version that makes sense to us. In saying that, it brings up an interesting perspective. When we express ourselves, no matter who and how we are, whether in this world or in an attempt to link up with other worlds, higher states, we naturally assume that our ability to do that is based on what we believe and how we function. This is the most normal thing in the world. And that's like an encasement that we legitimately have with the need we have to function as an individual classified as us, whatever that may be. And our attention, our focus is on us. To move our focus off of that is really very difficult. And often in spiritual worlds, the personality itself is considered basically trite and of no value. And you can hear that out of the mouths of many, many people, and or the beliefs of many groups, while at the same time solidifying, unknown to them, the great need to have a personality. Spiritualized. Normally, what that means is acting as if you're spiritual. That is the nature of a kind of kinship that relates directly to the idea of how a person thinks a person should be when they are spiritualized or spiritual. Those higher states recognize this kind of an illusory formula that we hold true and dear to ourselves. It doesn't hurt, but it also, in a kind of a way, hinders and holds us from being honest with ourselves. This is a dilemma. So, one way to look at things is attempting to be as straight with yourself as possible without being negative and without elevating ourselves. Just, oh, I do that. Oh my gosh. I don't really think I do that. I wonder, maybe that's something I can't see yet. Maybe it isn't. Maybe just someone else's projection of what you are. Because that, in that projection, it's a defense that they have with respect to holding themselves in a particular position that they value. And there's all kinds of jealousies that go along with that, which is normal in our world. When you ask a question like this, is it explicit? Is an explicit intention to help others necessary in this work? What begins to happen as you look at yourself in an honorable way, meaning honest way, I guess you could. And this is very difficult, honestly, because there are levels of honesty, and honesty can be also intermittent, depending on how you're engaging with others and how you're defending yourself. But when you're engaging with what you believe honesty is, and you're noticing things that come out of you or are inside of you, no one else knows about it, then if you could smile after that and say, yeah, I have some of that. Well, if you have some of that, really basically what you're talking about is, I'm sorry, there's a kind of advertising that comes over this sometimes, and so I'm trying to get rid of it. Hang on. There we go. You can still hear me, but I can't see me, so I'm assuming you can't see me either, but that may not be true. Or it might be a good idea sometimes. The issue in this is a very fascinating thing. If you can actually perceive things in yourself without judging them, what you can do is begin to ask for help for them in an honorable way, meaning you actually do want that help in that area. You will find that your personality is different, becoming different, not perfect, none of that, but different. And what I mean by that is this. In all the times we spent together, you remember me talking about images that of various kinds that we have about ourselves, and they kind of go together. They run together. Well, those images are not only separate to you as an individual. Those images are so similar to so many other people. Now think about this for a second, if you can. I have trouble thinking about them sometimes. If you have an image of a certain reflex, if you see it and you see that you have it, and it has been highly spirited and dynamic in your life, but there's aspects of it that it's not necessarily very helpful to others. Let me put it that way. And you decide that you would like to have that slightly different so it could be softer, less penetrating. And you do use energy on it. And you internally really want something to be different. You see, you're not in charge of this, right? You're in charge of keeping it there, but you're not in charge of adjusting it. Although personalities think they are. However, okay. And they can implement change. They can. Personalities can do this. But I'm saying if you use energy on it and something shifts unanticipated and you act in a certain way that's different than what you would call normal, just for a short period of time. Short period of time, I did say that. You are affecting others who have the same kind of way of acting. Now, here is where we run into trouble sometimes. And also, it's wonderful sometimes. Where you run into trouble is if you act differently in a given situation and you're used to acting in a different way, you may feel upset because you acted in that softer way and you didn't let yourself go and fire all 8 cylinders the way you used to, or 6 or 7 or 5 or whatever. It's an image. But what you missed was there was a change there. That means a higher state can operate down through an image in your personality that you are willing to see and make it softer just a little bit. It can operate through that old image to soften down others with similar images and make them softer, even if others have no interest in being softer. That brings up an old oyster. Yes, you're not in charge of that. And yes, others did not give their permission. This is the old oyster that someone some believe in. However, the inclination through that moment is to help another to grow internally. I always get in a little trouble with this one because people like the idea of having the personality in charge of something. They can really do something, but they're not going to do it unless other people tell them that it's okay, or this is should people should do this versus that, or that versus this, whatever. I agree, higher states are willing to have you act out any way you think you need to act out in life. Did you hear that? The emphasis is not on the higher states. The emphasis is on you. This is why it's so slow, this process of internal growth. The emphasis is usually put on the individual being valued for doing something, which solidifies an engagement with superior personality. And that can take you this far, but it can't open you because you're not able to allow insights that are different than the insights or the perspectives that you already have internally. So growth goes very slowly because those higher states don't want to hurt anybody. It's a loving engagement. The wisdom of not hurting enables loving to occur. In our world, our relative stiffness about how things should be, chop, chop, chop. And if they're not like that, they can't be as good as something else that's like that. Does not take into consideration the relationship you have with higher states. Takes into consideration the relationship you have with yourself and what you've already made up your mind about in terms of an engagement with so-called spirituality. This is where we are. And there are so many around who would assess these things in a much negative way. And I don't necessarily agree with that. Personally, you have to make up your own mind about that. Because individuals are working their way through themselves to make room for an understanding that relates to that experiential process of knowing a oneness within and without in a relationship with energetic response or energy that relates to higher states. And boy, has that ever been defined in many different ways. Feel comfortable with the one you define for yourself. But this is a question related to Arthur. And it's a question related honestly and sincerely. If you knew Arthur, he thinks about these things. He attempts to try to understand. And he runs into the same kinds of things that all of us run into. Sometimes brick walls. If this is like that, and that is like this, why isn't that like that? It's a logical engagement. And these higher states help us to figure it out internally. We quit too early. A personality will presume And as it's getting more open, it will battle the opening. In other words, it will presume that the previous way of thinking is the most valuable one because you're more comfortable with it. And that is a natural way to be. Very interesting. Within that whole construct of a personality is an amazing engagement with an idea that relates to levels of inner development. And as soon as a personality sees levels of inner development as a concept, it immediately wants to be there, 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 wherever that level of engagement entices the personality to feel comfortable about how they already feel, how they already see things. For eons of time, this has really been true. There have been levels of engagement, kings, knights, commercial folk, serfs, all of that stuff. This is a typical way of a personality's view. Ours right now is more focused on money. Those with more money must be better than those with no money. Or better education equals better this. You get a 93, another person gets a 92, you win. This is the kind of thing that we do. It's not negative, it's traditionally available to us to make sense of things that way because we have been thinking that way for hundreds of years, thousands of years. So when you're looking at attempting to help others, there's an old adage, help yourself first. You know this concept. I remember a gentleman that I knew quite well who was very proud of the fact that he had learned that when he was tired and operating sitting on a bus or a plane, he could take energy from other people and it made him feel better. That person would be terrified to think that he was giving anyone a hard time. Because I knew this of this person. He was extremely sensitive, but also he had some capacity. But he felt if he could do that, that was his right. He was not doing something bad. He was doing exactly what other people would do had they had that kind of capability. When we think of ourselves in relationship to our particular personalities, it's what we do. The dilemma is we don't see that we do that. And if we do, we justify it somehow. Well, if it's what we're trained to do, it's what we'll do. It doesn't make the person bad. It makes the person just not able to recognize that that's what they do. None of us are exempt from these kinds of things. From your most spiritual person, according to our Western concerns, to others. In the East, there is a battle for who's the most important person in the East, but not everybody has that battle. That's a personality thing. That's what you're brought up to think. That is the biggest dilemma because the higher states would not want us to do such a thing because it would be hurting ourselves. You can learn through these things if you can catch them and recognize them and slow them down a little bit. Then in a kind of a way, you are helping others who are alive. And I will just go there. Never mind the ones who have passed away. But they are logged into our reflexive responses on this plane. Emotion and thinking. And I would call it mind, but I get those. Mind to me is related to a higher state. The mental sphere is related to emotional mind. It's a little verbally distorted. But we look at history, and we should, and try to understand that all of history is a part of us. Looking back, maybe that can help us begin to look at our history as if it's, oh, this is the way that I have learned to be the way I am. No negation in that. Don't have to protect it. Don't have to even talk about it to anybody else. But you were learning about you. And then you can understand in this present time, we've got over 8 billion people. There are a few people who have similar backgrounds relative to them who might be thinking or reacting or engaging in a similar manner. I was talking to somebody the other day and asked this very interesting question. If we are the way we are now and are nervous about seeing ourselves the way we are, and as we're growing, the idea is that more energy comes in subtly and softly into us, gently. And then it expresses itself through us in the way we are and had been. Very good reason for attempting to soften down that one soft drop, which feels like an expansive, tremendous explosion within ourselves. Yeah, maybe not that dramatic. It allows ourselves to perceive more. It would hope that we could understand more so that we could be given more, so that our understanding could make room for it because we practice attempting to understand beyond our reactive responses that are gleaning this zone that we feel has to be exactly this way versus that way. This is one way to look at it. Recognizing that we can be a caring being. I would say loving, but we would be loving in relationship and we are caring in relationship to how we believe things should be. If we could allow that to stretch a little bit, so we could allow understanding of others, it would be most helpful with that one drop coming in or flow coming in that is different than what we're normally used to. If you emphasize that, different than what we are normally used to, and where that takes us. So if you're used to being hurt inside, Could we say the hurts get stronger? Or could we say we perceive them better? Therefore, we respond in the same way we did before until we soften down that response. So if you increase perception, you perceive in the same way you did before. Therefore, one could say you might be hurting more. Unless you allow yourself to soften your reaction down. Because we fall in love with our reactions. We love them dearly. This occurs, you should be acting like this. People say this all the time. Why are you not responding in that way? Or this way, or that way? We are emotionally focused, but usually unconsciously, reflexively reactive. And those reactions can come out of us, and they're very difficult to hold or soften them down if we're not attempting to practice them. Even when you are, they will come out of you. So what could come out in relationship to these kind of responses? Well, you might come out in defense of the whole personality construct. It's easier to relate to spiritual growing, and identifiably so, by reading 15 books, 1, 2, 3, on spiritual growth, making sure you know what's in there, and now you understand spiritual growth. Anything outside of that won't make any sense. All right. But Ron, you said you should read more. Read it all. Never mind 15. Read it all. But I also said, go looking for the core idea there. It's a whole bunch of people trying to make sense of stuff. There's no negation in that. Cultivate. Don't agree or disagree. Energy is coming into you and engaging with you for the purpose of being able to handle more, you being able to handle more energy coming through you. In the event that you meet someone that needs it in the particular way that that energy can operate through you, and help them in their internal growth, internal spiritual development, one could say. This is a beautiful thing. It's an act of you, who is in love with you, engaging with love at a higher level and allowing the opening to occur, and keep watching it and see where that flow may be going. Stop there. Seeing is more important than figuring out what kind of help you gave them, what kind of way they're going to be affected, because you're not in charge of that. Yeah, but just a minute here. Aren't you supposed to be in charge of being, when you're a spiritual person, you're in charge of being that spiritual person. And once you're organized and you're in that place and you have the image of you and you're expressing that image of you, personality style thing, you're trying to please yourself, to feel comfortable in that scenario. I don't see anything wrong with that. but you're not allowing yourself to perceive what's happening. And if you do that, you're not going to give enough value to you because you're trained not to. If you're not doing it, then, ooh, well, you got a point. In the way we look at things, that makes some sense. But there is a dialogue. From my perspective, you have to think about this on your own because you're growing through you. I'm growing through me. The experience of an engagement with a higher state must be, even at its the smallest amount, your experience. And it doesn't matter how the amounts are, what the amounts are. A little bit is wonderful. Means you effectively can be helpful. Not because you've done this and this and this and this and this, but because you are there and you can be. I think I expanded a little bit on Arthur. Sorry about that. Well, not really, but close. The explicit, it depends on your view. This particular intention to help others, is it necessary? If that higher state knows that you can be helpful in relationship to how you function, not necessary. Think about that one. If you believe you know you can be helpful and declare yourself helpful, the declaration of that is an aspect of you holding yourself in a particular position. This is weird. All it means is your understanding of helping another is related to how you can position yourself to help a person. You can do that with your personality structure. You can help 1,000 people. Go to it. Give them a hand doing anything that you think it might be helpful to them. Read to them. If that induces them to read, we have a whole lot of people on our planet that don't read very often. They read some stuff, but and they can read, but they just don't have the impetus to do that. They're too busy doing them. Can't really blame them for that. But here you go. Let's say you have a mediocre intention, or at least you come to the point where you say, well, no, I have to live my life at the same time. You're absolutely right in that. Well, yeah, but don't I need to sit back and say, I am now trying to help people? I don't do that. It's not one of the things, although I can remember attempting to do that in a subway in a particular city by saying something like this. I don't know if you can help anybody here, but go ahead. I'll just try and see if I can see or notice anything happening. Maybe that could be helpful to me too. That was not a very strong impetus there. And I would like to think that some help was given, but I hazard to say I didn't have a clue at the time, and maybe it was. And I'm glad if it did. That's all. Now you go on to say, through softening and redirecting energy and asking for help from higher states, do I not simultaneously help myself? Absolutely. If you can let go enough to ask for help that way, you're definitely helping yourself. You're opening you a little bit more. That higher state attempts to take advantage of that situation so that twofold help can be given through you, and through means helping you to open a little bit more and see if you can be okay with that opening and living life with that opening and moving up to that opening in that moment by engaging with the intensity that occurs after the help. Because intensity is caused by the personality trying to get back into the position and place that it was already in previously. This is a natural rendering of what happens. I know it doesn't fit the definitions, but if you want to know the experiential part of it, that's what happens. And it can be anything, anytime, any place. Softer, not so soft sometimes, because the personality may be touched in a place that is really a little bit sensitive, and reactions can occur out of this. Learning how to soften that reaction, yes, redirecting, asking for healing for it, engaging with it personally, even as a personality, and saying things like, I have said, easy, Ron, easy. So you have to use your own name in this one. Easy does it. Okay, what's going on here? What is that all about? Acting like this hurts, therefore I react. And when I react, I can not react this way until it really hurts deeper and reminds me of other hurts, then I react more. Those kinds of things. So you're being okay with allowing yourself to notice things easy, slow and easy, but you don't have to be doing that 24 hours a day. That will show up. Times will show up. Do it then. Do I simultaneously help myself? Yes, as personnel, as well as others. Yeah, that's what I think. Okay, and in that for years I've said, not my will, but the highest will be done. If you start saying that, you start thinking about what you're actually saying. Personalities don't like that statement at all. I mean, don't tell anybody else you're doing that. But if you're saying, not my will, but the highest will be done. But give me a hand with this. Do the adding, but give me a hand with this because I'm still sensitive and vulnerable in this whole process of opening so that I can engage with and handle the opening in a gentle, balanced, and appropriate a manner as possible. These words keep coming back. Because it's, you don't have a suit, well, you do have a suit of armor on, but you don't wear the armor and walk in with a sword in your hand and say, I can handle anything and, give it to me and all the rest of it. People have tried that one. I've tried that one. Found I couldn't handle everything and probably still can't. We are everyone is growing. I don't care who it is. Your most favorite, whatever, still growing. It's the way it works. And maybe that would be helpful if we understood that better, especially in relationship to our personalities. Okay, as well. Is it even wise to distinguish this personality from all others? Arthur, I know you, and I know you like engaging with others from time to time. You know they're not exactly like you. Others are not exactly like you. We have similarities, but they're not exactly like you. The old adage of, well, why would they do that? Well, they did that because that's how they're seeing life right now. They see things that way because that's the only way they can see it that makes their personality feel comforted enough to have a level of value that they're used to having inside themselves with this kind of expression uh, or expression of certain kind of characteristics that make them feel worthwhile in the world that they live in for the purposes that are reflexive in them, not necessarily even known in them. This is not so simple, not so easy for anybody. So, yeah, no, yeah, no. Sometimes wise, sometimes not so wise. You're not pitting one person against the other. This is not a spiritual engagement like that. Yeah, but this is what we do. We're trained to do this kind of thing. Everybody wants to be the professor who gives the marks, not the one that's a student of life and continually engaging with life and learning. Who would want to do that? Hopefully, all of us. Okay, now how are we doing? Okay, maybe let's try this one. When turning on the hands, do you recommend I look at them with the eyes or with eyes closed using the mind's eye only? I would suggest you try both. Here's the reason. You want to turn those hands on. You turn them on best you can. And then look at them. And then turn and look at the other. And then turn and look at the other one. See if you can see the difference when you're looking at them and when you're not. When you do close your eyes, I know you're thinking, focus on them and focus on them. There's two things really. There's more than two things, but anyway, let's say there's two things going on there. First of all, you're using your eyes. Energy comes out of the eyes. And on these secular levels, on these planes, coarser levels, there is a certain kind of energy that comes out of this. It's really entrenched in relationship to the personalization. There is another level that these eyes can go to, more than one actually, but let's say that, where there is transmission from a higher state. I was going to say soul level. Various levels of engagement can occur through any chakra. When we talk about the heart center or the brow center or the crown, we're talking, or the solar plexus or the gonads. These centers can operate on many levels. Try to keep that in mind. The eyes are the same thing. They can operate on more than one level. As a matter of fact, if you are a tiny bit clairvoyant, you could watch the eyes and frequencies relative to various purposes shift and change coming out of the eyes for a purpose related to an engagement to another, for example. You're not trying to do that. It's a higher state engagement. And that is quite interesting when it does happen. And you can perceive these things from time to time as the personality opens up more and more. The personality is made up of root, gonad, solar plexus centers, major ones, which may include parts of the heart, the throat, the brow, and the crown, one can say, or that big series of centers behind the neck that reaches into a higher state where expression can occur down and through them, through the mouth, through any aspect of these centers that we have in us. It's an interesting thing to talk about. I normally don't talk about them too much, although I do, because of the already these concepts that we have about how a person should be, why a person should be that way, and what this is and what that is, and what level this is and what level that is. And there's a whole bunch of competition out there for who's higher level. That starts to move away. When your eyes are closed, energy can still operate through them, obviously. Realize that. But you're trying to get the brow center to send energy to the hands. Well, that's fine. You can go up here, do the same thing towards the hands. If you need to close your eyes to do that, fine. If you don't, and later on you won't have to. And you can use the heart center to stimulate the hands, the solar plexus, the gonad center, the root center. You can use these centers. But if your mind becomes quieter, your emotional need to do this versus that, and just do it without that intensity, then you'll notice that the hands will feed back to the center that you're attempting to engage with. Don't have to do anything. Energy will pass through it for the purpose of helping these hands to open more. And then as they open more, energy will pass through them to help those centers to open more. This is the nature of the whole organism helping itself to become more able. And this is we're not set up to think like this or to engage like this very often. We do have ways that we think things should be. Try them. I know these work. You try whatever you need to. One of the things I've learned in these years that I've been doing this kind of thing, every now and then you run into an idea that is used by someone, someplace, somewhere to be helpful to themselves. And it's just almost the same as some other ones. And how did they get that idea? That's my idea. They're not allowed to have that idea. You start finding out that the idea was never yours. You've been fortunate enough to have the idea pass through your mind. So you try to help others with that idea. It's surprising, shocking. There was one idea I thought, wow, that idea, oh, is so interesting. And it really helps. It was the pump, universal pump. And that idea I ran into in a different way when we were down at an ashram and we were happened to see some Jewish fellows doing this whole body pump like this. And I realized, my God, that's because I already knew the pump this way, and it circulates energy around you. Why would you want to do that? You're opening that whole chakra from top to bottom with all these other small chakras in it a little bit more than it could open before. In other words, from above your head to the bottom of your feet, well, basically below your buttocks, and you have a circulation of energy moving around. I was like, my God, they're doing the same thing. Wow, that's fascinating. I wondered where that came from. Then a few years later, I found out the Chinese have been doing this forever, for thousands of years. Not everybody, but the Taoist orientation, not the local Taoist orientation, not at all. The Taoist orientation, which was involved with stimulating chakras to engage with higher states ultimately, if they could possibly get there in a lifetime. There's a universality about almost everything. The key in this is softening the experience of it and beginning to be aware of the fact you're not becoming able just for yourself. You're becoming able for the possibility of having a flow operate through you so others can have a flow operate through them more consciously than it could be before. And that flow, in my opinion, is a loving flow. You can add any name to it that you wish, and that's another story where the one group will call it one thing, another will call it another, and there'll be a grumbling about what they're calling it. This is just us. It's what we do. So when those eyes, when you're looking at things, I mean, there's transmission. When those hands are open, there's transmission. When you redirect, there's transmission. Go slow with the redirecting at first, and then eventually all you need is a thought. And it's redirected. Just a simple thought. And you can follow the experience of that flow being redirected later on, and a lot sooner than you think. Thank you very much. I really appreciate those questions. And there are more, and we will talk about them in another time. Let's meditate. I'll just turn off the visual screen, and we'll try and turn on some music. We'll just begin to do the balancing and grounding on our own, and I wish you well. Have a good evening. Good night.